Hi guys, welcome back to 100% Mag. So it's ended down at the Etihad, Manchester City 2, Newcastle United 0. And let's talk about the game in this review. Now, I've got to say, the way this game played out, Man City weren't that far ahead. It was sort of similar to the game at St James's Park earlier on in the season. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get on the score sheet today, but that was down to the fact that, we just didn't seem to have that end product. The ball just wasn't landing forward today. There was very many times in the game where, if the ball had connected right with a player, we would have scored in the game. Wilson's, for one, the ball came in and he tried to catch it on the volley. He couldn't catch it properly and it didn't work out for her. There was a chance for Gordon in the game, who was seeing himself get, of course, his first proper debut starting for Newcastle in the match today. There was only 3 changes to the squad today from what played on Sunday in the cup final, with Nicky Pope, of course, coming back into the side after serving that suspension. Jamal Lascelles, of course, coming in for Fabian Shaw, who was out today because of a concussion that he picked up in the final on Sunday, and Anthony Gordon coming in for Maxi, with Maxi sitting on the bench today, coming on eventually later on in the game, alongside, of course, the likes of Matt Target, who made an appearance today, coming on for Dan Burn. Later on in the game, Isak came on as well for Wilson. Later in the game, Willock came on for Longstaff later in the game, and Murphy also came on as well for Miggy later in the game. But all in all, looking at the way it played out, like I say, there really wasn't that much difference between the two sides. The referee, unfortunately, was sort of the defining factor of the game today, with Simon Hooper prioritising Man City a little bit more over Newcastle in the game. Man City scored, 15 minutes into the game through Phil Foden. The ball took a deflection off of Sven Botman to go into the back of the net, so there wasn't really much that Nicky Pope could do about that, and there wasn't really much that Sven Botman could do about it deflecting off of his ankle, neither, as he tried to slide in to clear it away. But from that goal, Man City really didn't do much else in the game until about the 67th minute. But even then, leading all the way up until they scored the second goal, Newcastle were dominating the game against City. City did have a hold of the ball, but that was just because they were tapping it around the back of their box like they usually do. That's the way Man City play. So, there was quite a bit of that from Man City today. There was a lot of booing going from the Man City fans towards Newcastle's players today, saying that we were time wasting. If anybody was time wasting today in the game, it was definitely Man City. The way, Ake was taking them throw-ins, it was taking well over a minute before he was throwing it in, and it was just keep churning down the clock every time like that. So just really, really bad by Man City. But at the end of the day, like I say, the game was pretty close. Everybody else was saying, that Newcastle were going to absolutely get thumped by Man City today. That wasn't the case. Man City only came away from the game with 2 goals. They only had one more chance on target than what we had in the game, and we only had 5 shots. So they had 11 chances to try and get more on target than us, and they could only manage to get one more on target out of 11 chances in the game. 6 chances more than what we had, or 5 shots in the game. They ended the game off with 57% possession, but that's obvious because at the end of the day, it is Manchester City. They like to keep a hold of the ball quite a bit, so obviously they're going to have the higher percentage at the end of the match. And we came away from the game with 43% possession. This is, of course, according to BC's stats, so it might be wrong there. On the foul front, they said that Newcastle had 13 fouls in the game. That was just purely down to the fact that the referee was just nitpicking at every single thing that Newcastle was doing in the game. And every time it looked like we had a chance to move forward, he was saying, that's a foul. There's a free kick to Man City, this is a set piece to City, this is a set piece to City, and that was basically what Simon Hooper was doing all day today. But hey ho, at the end of the day, it hasn't been the greatest result for it today, coming away from the game on the end of a defeat. But we go into some winnable games now. Next Sunday, we take on Wolves at St James's Park. That's a 4:30 kickoff. That is a game where I could see Newcastle coming away with 3 points. Definitely. Then we've got the game against Nottingham Forest on the 17th of March. And that's down at the City Ground. That's again another game where I could see, we're picking up something, but we will talk about them games when they get a little bit closer, of course. And we know a little bit more news on the team going into them games as well. And our next big game, you would say, is on the 2nd of April. That's a 4:30 kickoff at St James's Park when we take on Manure. A chance, of course, to get a bit of revenge on them for what they did in the League Cup against we just on Sunday gone there. But all in all, like I say, we might have come away from this one on the end of a defeat, but it hasn't really changed the league too much. We're still in 5th place. We're still 4 points behind Tottenham, who are in 4th place, and we are still only 8 points behind Manure, who are in 3rd place in the league. So all in all, it hasn't really changed too much in the league position at the end of the day. So, if we can pick up the results in them next 2 games, the one against Wolves, the one against Nottingham Forest, going to the game against Manure on the 2nd of April, and hopefully pick up the win in that one at St James's Park against them, then, the main focus now is just finishing off this season, getting the Champions League football if we can, because that is the main focus now, to get that Champions League football. What we do need to remember, however, and what quite a few people need to remember, is that Newcastle do still have 2 games in hand. We still have 2 games in hand. We've got the game, what we didn't play against Brighton because we were playing the cup final. That is still yet to be a rearranged game yet. So we'll have to wait and find out when they do rearrange that one. But the game against West Ham has been rearranged. And of course, we will be playing that one in the due course as well. I believe that one is going to be played on the 5th of April. So after the Man United game at St James's Park. So that'll be on the Wednesday, the 5th of April. Before we take on Brentford down at their ground on the 8th of April. So we do have the 2 games against Wolves and Nottingham Forest before we get into them games. So, however, but let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What were your thoughts, of course, on the performance from the referee today? I thought he was very one-sided, and that in a way did kind of cost for the game, but I'm not trying to make excuses here. At the end of the day, we just seem to lack that end product in front of goal once again, and that is something that we have been seeing quite a bit. That is quite a familiar picture that we're seeing quite a bit as we've been playing of late, that we just seem to not being able to get them end product and get the ball in at the back of the net. Hopefully, we will see that start to improve. And if it does start to improve, looking at the stats, we've got a fantastic expected goals ratio, at 13 goals. So if we do start getting that end product, then we are going to be absolutely lightning until the end of the season if we can get that end product right and we can start putting away the chances that we're creating, because we're creating a lot of chances, even more chances now that Bruno's back into the side as well. So if we can start finding that ability to put it into the back of the net, then we will be benefiting a lot more going forward. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you have liked this video, please do hit a like on it. It does help the channel to grow. It does help the video to grow as well and get out there to a wider audience. And if you can as well, and if you haven't done it yet, or if you're new, please do hit that subscribe, as that also does help the channel to grow, and you can even donate to the channel as well by the super thanks button down below if you want to support the channel in that way. I have had quite a few people supporting the channel in that way of late, so thank you for that. It really does mean a lot, and it of course goes back into helping improve the quality of the videos with lighting, you know, sound, what have you, to improve the videos for you guys. Until next time, I'll see you all later, and how are the lads.